What is up, Ohio State fans, college fans around the world, wherever you may be? Thanks for joining another edition of Postgame Live of Ohio State football. As always, like, share, subscribe. If you'd like to leave a donation as well, feel free to do that. And the place to do that is at Talk College Football All the Time. You can sign up at patreon.com. Search MarkRogersTV, and feel free to leave a little pizza money there if you'd like. So we can officially say it's Michigan week, people. All right. I'm going to leave that right there because we've got a lot to unpack and unwrap from what just took place this evening. But as I said, it is officially Michigan week. So Ohio State comes into today's game at Maryland. They're 10-0, trying to get to 11-0. They went off at kickoff at 26.5-point favorites. Okay. Now, you guys remember what I told you last week. All right. I said, teams that play at home, it doesn't matter where you are, who you are, you always get great efforts from the opposing team at home when you are on the road. It doesn't matter who you are, okay? You can see today what takes place, all right? It's just a different animal to play at somebody else's field. It just is, guys, all right? So with that in mind, you got to remember, just get in and get out with a win, regardless of when the game's played, all right? Just get out with a win, and that's exactly what Ohio State did today. It was a little unnerving at times, but they found a way. So we'll get right into this right now. Like I said, there's a lot to unpack here. So Maryland wins the toss. They defer. They decide to go ahead and kick off to Ohio State. And I really wanted to see how Ohio State would come out, being on the road in another environment. Okay, can they react? Can they be elite like we want Ohio State to be? All right. And that's exactly what they did. They came out, first drive of the game. They went 6 plays and 75 yards in only a minute and a half. Exactly what you want to see. Okay. Harrison, unbelievable catch. Marvitron down the right sideline with an unbelievable catch. Basically got held, got a PI, was still able to catch the ball one hand. And then what happens after that? Ohio State. Nice little action play. Henderson, Travion back in action today. Loops right out of the backfield out to the left side. Stroud finds him. Great block by Cade Stover. And Henderson does the rest. Goes right in and makes it a quick 7-0 lead for Ohio State. So you're right there. You're saying to yourself, okay, this is exactly what we want. Quick start out of the gate, just the way you want to do it. Now, let's keep it rolling. Let's get the defense on the field. Let's see what Jim Knowles is going to do now and how Ohio State's going to play Maryland. Because we know Maryland got some players back that, they had talked about during the broadcast. They were missing guys too. Tagovailoa had been hurt, all right? That was probably the healthiest he's been. But when you look at Maryland, remember what I just told you. The last 2 games are on the road. They got bludgeoned in Wisconsin, and they got bludgeoned in Penn State last week, all right? So here they are. They're at home now. They're going to throw the kitchen sink at Ohio State, and that's exactly what they did. And you could see it right from the very first play after the kickoff for Maryland. Tagovailoa rolled out to his left and threw a tight end back pass screen all the way across the field, and Dupree was his name, made a nice run. They had the lineman out there, perfect play. He was able to rumble down with a nice throwback. Then also aided on this drive was JT Tuimoloau, ended up with a personal foul and a face mask. But the nice thing Ohio State was able to do is once Maryland got down in that red zone, they were able to lock it up. They were able to get off the field, and they held Maryland to a field goal. So their guy comes out and kicks a 31-yard field goal, and it's 7-3. So a good job by the defense. Now let's see if Ohio State can respond. This next series, I'll be honest with you, probably might have been one of the worst series I've seen Ohio State have all year. So they get the kickoff. It goes out of the end zone. They call fair catch. So they come out, and what happens? Somehow, and this just drives me insane because part of it is also on C.J. Stroud. He takes a delay game penalty right off the bat before they even snap the ball. He's got to be aware of the play clock, okay? So it's not that Ryan Day didn't get to play in or anything like that. This one is on Stroud. So you already start behind the sticks with that penalty. And then what happens next? You get caught with Henderson in the backfield. He gets caught for lost yardage. And then you have DeJuan Jones now, or I forget who it was, ended up with another false start, which backed him up again. Absolutely terrible series by Ohio State. They have to punt. Now they're backed up, so Mirko's got to come out. He just gets it out over midfield. So now Maryland takes over in very good field position. And so they're feeling good about themselves. They weathered that early drive from Ohio State. And because of Ohio State's mistakes in this next drive, they're able to get off the field. So what's Maryland do? Maryland goes right down the field. They go 8 plays. What were they doing? A lot of misdirection, a lot of screens again, misdirection plays, getting that defense, which Jim Knowles' defense is. It's a very aggressive defense. So how do you handle, or what do you do to counteract an aggressive defense? You got to do a lot of misdirection stuff. You got to run counters. You got to run screens, things like that. That's why Maryland was successful. They moved right down the field. Again, though, guess what? Ohio State bows up in that red zone again. They end up holding Maryland to another field goal. It was 8 plays, 54 yards. They were able to hold them. So it's a 21-yard field goal, and now it's 7-6. So Ohio State takes back over, and again, I should say the last series and this series are probably the 2 worst series I've seen Ohio State have. So what do? They run a little zone read option, and Henderson wants to take the ball, but Stroud, if you watch it again, he had the right read. He was trying to pull it out of Henderson's gut and get to the outside because it was going to be wide open. Well, you have an issue on that exchange. Ball's on the ground. Henderson's got to get on it. Ohio State's back behind the sticks now. Okay, so you're behind the sticks. You're backed up near your own goal line. Your play calling now becomes a little bit conservative. And credit to Maryland, they were able to get after the receivers a little bit. They got up, played some man-to-man. They a lot of bump and run, and they caused some errant throws, and they get off the field again. So Mirko's got to come out, and they got to punt it away again. So again, Maryland's got great field position. Okay, so the first quarter ends up ending with Ohio State up 7-6 after the first quarter. All right, now again, I'm not surprised Ohio State came out a little bit sluggish. I thought it would be sluggish for about the first quarter and a half, but then I thought, Ohio State will impose their will eventually. But then again, you have to remember, you got another team on the other side that they weathered that early storm. Now they've got some confidence going with themselves. They're feeling good about themselves. They're getting some good offensive plays. That, like I said, a lot of misdirection, a lot of screens. Guys are getting excited, and that's what adds to the momentum to Maryland. Okay, so Maryland takes back over. They run a great play. They get another little counter play up the middle, but guess what? A holding ends up having to bring it back. So that ends up costing Maryland that next drive. So they end up having to go 3 and out. They punt it back to Ohio State, and one of the longer drives of the year for Ohio State, because you normally don't see Ohio State do this, but they took over. They go 14 plays on their next drive, 75 yards. Again, though, there was, a little bit of this, a little bit of that offensively. It was a grind drive. You don't see, like I said, Ohio State normally go 14 plays. It's usually 5 and 6, 7, 8 play drives, and they're in the end zone. But Noah Ruggles comes out, and he gets 3 on the board for Ohio State. So Ohio State goes up 10-6. So, again, Ohio State not in the end zone, but they go up 10-6. So Maryland takes back over, and what do? They go on their own 14-yard drive, and one of the plays that it just drives me insane. I just hate it because it always seems to happen to Ohio State. They got into a 2nd and long, and what do? They hit a jump ball play. It was like 2nd and 18, and Tagovailoa throws it up, and credit to their player, Demas. He's a big, long receiver. He gets up over Court Brown and makes a great catch and gets him out of there. And eventually, Maryland goes right down, and they get a 1st and goal. And again, Ohio State did a tremendous job by keeping them and making them earn every yard down inside that red zone. And it actually got to a 3rd and 1, and they end up running another play-action pass. And a little caveat to that, though, the prior play on 1st down, they went play-action, and Dupree, the tight end for Maryland, he actually made a great play. Ransom was going to intercept the pass on the play action on the first play on 1st and goal for Maryland. But Dupree was able to get his hand up, if you see it again, and actually kept Ransom from intercepting that ball. Because if Ransom gets that, it's going the other direction. If he gets tackled, I think then all of a sudden the wheels come off because now you're at 10-6. Ohio State, you can go down and score. It could go off the rails real fast. But, again, credit to their player by making a play to giving them another opportunity. Granted, it gets the 3rd down. They run another play action. And Paleo Neoteote for Ohio State, the linebacker, he ends up just dipping inside a little bit, and the tight end ends up leaking right out the backside. Good throw by Tagovailoa. He gets it right over Neoteote's hands, and it's a touchdown. And now it's 13-10, Maryland all of a sudden. So just like that, the lead is gone. Okay, so how does Ohio State respond? They get the kickoff. They pick up 1 first down, and unfortunately, they've got to punt it away. And there really wasn't much time left at that point in the first half. Maryland took a shot. They thought they were going to have something, but they end up just going ahead and sitting down on it. And so for the 3rd time all year, Ohio State's down at the half, 13-10. So just to cover some of the stats, I'll give you some more opinion on first half. Stroud, very un-Stroud-like. He was 9 of 18 for 131 yards and a touchdown to Henderson. Henderson only 11 carries, 19 yards rushing. Harrison, Marvitron, 3 catches for 44 yards. Henderson had the 1 catch for 31 for the TD. Fleming had 2 for 30. Egbuka had 3 for 26. Ohio State had 159 total yards in the first half. And something that became a theme throughout the game and uncharacteristic, this was something that Ohio State dealt with earlier in the year, was penalties. So Ohio State had 7 penalties in that first half for 62 yards. So obviously that has to be cleaned up moving forward. Now, on the flip side, Maryland, and McElroy made a great point, who was covering the game. Tagovailoa was 16 of 18 for 180 yards and a touchdown. And if you want to upset a team like Ohio State, that's the way your quarterback has to play. It was a perfect comment, and that's why Maryland was in the game. Tagovailoa was playing absolutely fantastic. Maryland did everything they could in that first half. And this is why I wasn't nervous at all, because Maryland played about as perfect of a half as you can play, and they're only up 13-10. So, again, he goes 16 of 18 for 180 and a touch, 18 carries for only 31 yards. Our defense was doing a great job against the run. Dupree with the tight end, he had the lone touchdown, 3 for 38. But Maryland was 5 of 8 on 3rd down. And that's always something that I always talk about is, remember, can the defense get off the field on 3rd down? So 5 of 8 is not Ohio State-like. There were a few times, too, I think in the first half, our coverage was a little bit laxed. We were giving a lot of room to their wide receivers. So that's something that be interesting to hear if somebody asked Jim Knowles or Ryan Day that question in the post game. there was a lot of soft coverage there. So be interesting to see if anybody asked that. So, again, Maryland played about as good as you could play in the first half. They're only up 3. Now, the only problem with that is Maryland's going to get the second half kickoff. So can Ohio State get off the field in 3 and out, or at least cause a punt and make things happen? So Maryland gets the second half kickoff, and what's Ohio State do? They did exactly what we needed them to do. After a first down, they hold them to a punt, and for the second week in a row, Lathan Ransom comes in with the block punt. Tremendous job by Lathan Ransom. I didn't mention him last week, so that's 2 weeks in a row right now. He has played fantastic, and I don't know if some of you guys are aware of Pro Football Focus, PFF. Now, again, it's not the Bible when it comes to grading players and exactly how they're going to pan out or where they think they should be in the draft, but it is a very reputable source that a lot of people use, Pro Football Focus. But Pro Football Focus right now has Lathan Ransom as the number 1 safety in the country right now for the NFL draft. Now, he has certainly played fantastic the last 2 weeks after what he's done. And today, he piggybacked right on that effort last week with the block punt. He also had to tackle for loss with the tight end. Again, Maryland tried to run a little misdirection play, come back to the tight end on the backside. Ransom got past the offensive line, made a big stop for a loss on the tight end and the tackle. Then he comes right back with the block punt. Our man, X-Man, Xavier Johnson, with the recovery, couldn't get in. But Ohio State is now cooking as they take over from Maryland's 21-yard line. Now, what I did like, and this is going to be a theme for the rest of the half, obviously I'm going to mention him too, is Dallin Hayden. Dallin Hayden came in that second half, and it didn't take Ohio State long. It only took 2 plays. It was all Dallin Hayden. He got all 21 yards in for the touchdown. Tremendous job by the offensive line, especially that left side. Paris Johnson over there on that left side. You got Donovan Jackson, the starting right guard or starting left guard on that side. They went both plays right there, and Dallin Hayden walked in for a touchdown. And all of a sudden, just when Maryland thought, here we are, we're getting the ball the second half. Next thing you know, you got a block punt, and Ohio State's up 17-13. So again, great job to come out the way Ohio State did. The stop, the block punt, now you're in the end zone and you're up 17-13. So back to Maryland that goes to kickoff. Can we get off the field? Absolutely. Great job by Cam Brown on the jump ball. They tried another jump ball. He was right there for it. Ends up, Ohio State gets out of their 3 and out. So now you're starting to feel good. Now you want to see, can Ohio State, let's expand on the lead. All right. So Ohio State, after the punt, they go 9 plays. They make a great pass, great reception to Emeka Egbuka. It was a 3rd and long, and Stroud, one of the better passes of the day for him. I'll talk about a few others. He had some great throws, even though his stats were kind of pedestrian today. But Ohio State goes 9 plays, and they all, like as I just said, the 37-yard pass to Egbuka. But what ends up happening? They stall out in the red zone, and C.J. Stroud ends up taking a grounding penalty, which knocks them almost out of field goal range. But Noah Ruggles, man, you got to love the kid, comes in, and he boots out a 47-yard field goal. Ohio State's now up a touchdown. So, again, great job. Ohio State holds. They're able to go down and still build the lead, and that's what you want. Whether it's a field goal or a touchdown, I'll take points at this point any way we can get it. You can tell the game is going to probably be a grind, and you're just trying to get out of there now with the win, okay? It's not going to be one of them things where, again, coming in, all the games against Maryland and Ohio State has played, they've averaged 59 points a game. That was not going to happen today, the way the game was being played out. So at this point, you're just trying to get points on the board and trying to get the hell out of that stadium with a win and move on to next week. So we'll take the points any way we can get it. So Ohio State's up 20-13, and They go right back to Maryland. Maryland, after a big run by Tagovailoa, everyone's covered downfield. Defense did a good job. He breaks contain. He rips off about a 25-yard run. But in the end, Ohio State, after a nice sack by Tommy Eichenberg, they get him off the field again. And right there, you're thinking, okay, let's get this offense. Let's keep it going. And our man, Dallin Hayden again, he was huge. After the punt, Ohio State goes 88 yards in 11 plays, capped off Dallin Hayden, 3-yard touchdown run, and that's his second of the day. And you've got, remember, there was a couple big plays on that drive too. You had Marvin Harrison. They ran a little crossing route to him and picked up about 15 to 18 yards for a first down. I believe that was a third down play. And Cade Stover, okay, if you watch that play, McElroy showed it on the replay. Cade Stover, when he came up underneath and was crossing, he really wasn't open at the time. But when you talk about a quarterback throwing a guy open, C.J. Stroud did a tremendous job on throwing it right out there. The linebacker who was guarding Stover stumbled a little bit, and that's all he needed. Stover hauls it in, brings it down inside the 5, and 3 yards later, down Haynes in a touchdown. It's 27-13. So you finally got a little bit of breathing room if you're Ohio State. And if you're an Ohio State fan, you're thinking, okay, we're good to go here. We're up 14. The defense is playing well. We're getting stops. We're getting off the field. This is exactly what you want. So Maryland, they get the kickoff, and before you know it, they go 75 yards in 5 plays. There's a great pass play. Tagovailoa goes 36 yards. There's a pass interference on the same drive, and before you know it, Maryland's knocking on the door, and I was waiting for it to happen. Again, McElroy pointed out every time they ran zone read against Ohio State, basically Tagovailoa kept it or handed it off. This time he finally decided to go ahead and tuck it, looped right around the outside, and it was an easy walk-in touchdown. And again, to their point, okay, that was actually covering over the third and into the fourth. That drive covered over the third quarter because the third quarter ended 27-13. Early in the fourth quarter, they scored the touchdown here. And Mike Locksley said, and you knew it had to be coming, why are we going to leave anything in the barn? We might as well get it all out. So they go for 2. And what killed me is I knew what play was coming. I was screaming at the TV, but what good is that going to do? I knew they were going to run that little wide receiver, bring him in motion. It's a great play down inside that 4 and 5 yard line where it's a wide receiver screen. Very hard to defend, and Maryland converts. He comes in motion. Tagovailoa right out to him. He's got 2 blockers right in front of him. He just walks in. Now you got a 6-point game. It's 27-21. So right there, Ohio State, just when you thought you had a little bit of breathing room, Maryland comes right back. And you knew at that point, forget it. It's gonna be a dogfight right to the end, and it certainly was. So how does Ohio State gonna respond now? They just had a touchdown and a 2-point conversion put on them. Their lead was just cut to 6. And our man, I love it, the Swiss Army knife, Xavier Johnson, on the kickoff, he goes 46 yards, I think he went on the kickoff. So there you go. You want to talk about a game of momentum? This is a game of momentum. This is how it is. Just when Maryland thinks, here we go. The stadium's back in it. Their crowd's excited. They showed the stat later in the game. Maryland was 0-36 against ranked teams while they were in the Big Ten. So here they are. They're excited. Xavier Johnson, the Swiss Army knife, rips off a 46-yard kickoff return. Tremendous job. And sets Ohio State up perfect right out near midfield. And, again, what's Ohio State do? It's 4 plays, 53 yards. Dallin Hayden, for his 3rd touchdown of the day, gets in from 13 yards out. Hard running. The offensive line was fantastic. that drive. They just running downhill, running north and south, did a tremendous job on the drive. And so now, because of Maryland going for 2 and getting it, and now forces Ohio State to have to go for 2. And again, this is on C.J. Stroud, okay? The play's in. He's got to be aware of the play clock. I look down, there's 5 seconds left. He's still trying to change the play. Now, was something called from the sideline? I couldn't tell, but that's on the quarterback. He's got to be aware of that play clock and understand he's got to get the play off. So they end up with a delayed game, and instead of trying for the 2, they go ahead and kick the field goal. So and what happens? Or the extra point. Terrible job on the right side, and Maryland comes in, and not only do they block the extra point, they actually friggin' pick it up and return it for 2 points the other way. So you want to talk about a swing of momentum in games? This one had it all, okay? If you have a weak heart, this game was not for you right here. This is not for you right here. So the swing of momentum again, you go from possibly being up 14 again to now you have to kick an extra point that gets blocked and returned, and it ends up being a 4-point swing. Now Ohio State's lead is only 33-23. So again, you're in the fourth quarter now. You got a 10-point lead. You got to find ways to get stopped. So Ohio State's got to kick back off to Maryland, and what do? Ohio State does a fantastic job on getting Maryland out. 3 and out. They do a great job. Get them off the field. So Ohio State takes over after the punt. They get pinned down deep. So now you're looking at there's probably about 8 or 9 minutes left, if I'm not mistaken, when they take over on that next drive. So Ohio State gets it out to midfield. They had a 3rd down and short. They're able to convert, and they end up in a 4th and short. And I don't know if this is an indictment on Ohio State's short yardage game, but I wasn't real thrilled with the play call. Dallin Hayden had been doing a good job. The offensive line had been doing a good job in the second half, picking up short yardage. And some reason on 4th and 1, they elect to go play action to try to catch Maryland. And Stroud gets pressured, has to roll out to his left, and marvelous Marvitron out there. Can't make the catch, just couldn't get his hands underneath it. Looked like it slipped right through, and the nose hit the ball. They turn it over on downs. So right there, you're thinking, okay, that's a huge, huge turn right there. And what's it do? It gives Maryland a lot of life, because Maryland goes right down in 7 plays and 74 yards. And the big play of that drive was a 50-yard pass play to Tagovailoa from Tagovailoa. And great play by them. Great job. And you give them credit. But the killer on the drive was Ohio State gets them to 4th down. It's 4th and goal. And for all intents and purposes, Ohio State has the play covered. They have the play covered. Tagovailoa rolls out to his right. He's under heavy pressure. And McAllister's right there on the goal line, standing on top of one guy, and there's 4 other white jerseys, and somehow their guy, Jarrett, I think it is, comes all the way across, or the name escapes me, I'm sorry, comes all the way across the end zone, and somehow he threads the needle in between all those guys, and they get the score. Kick the extra point. Now it's 33-30. So right there, again, game of momentum, and it'll give you heartburn central for sure. So what does Ohio State do now? Maryland kicks off. So this is what I loved this drive. This was a man's drive right here. Okay, it was a man's drive. All right, Ohio State takes over. They go 11 plays, burn all that time off the clock. They burn all of Maryland's timeouts, and there was a huge play. Dallin Hayden, instrumental again. That offensive line, he was the offensive line did a hell of a job on the right side this time. It was Dewan Jones, Matt Jones over there on that right side this time. Luke Whippler at center. They were doing a great job blowing guys out of there. There were two huge plays on this drive, if you guys remember. There was a 3rd and 2, and Maryland jumps, gives Ohio State a free first down, okay? So because of that, now Maryland ended up having to burn through their timeouts. And what's Ohio State do? The one time they throw the ball, it's 3rd and about 6 or 7, I believe it was, and Egbuka with an unbelievable catch. Unbelievable catch right over the middle. Stroud put it down low. No worries about a INT or anything like that. Egbuka with a tremendous catch, got his hands underneath it. Fantastic job. First down. And that was all Ohio State needed because our boy, never nervous, Noah Ruggles, comes back in and boots a 45-yarder. So now Ohio State was able to basically knock off almost that entire portion of that drive, the remaining time in the game. By the time Maryland took over, there was about 26 seconds left in the game. And great job by the D-line, especially Marvin Harrison. They try to run some deep routes, some deep go routes. Zach Harrison comes in, sacks Tagovailoa, and it's great because they've got no timeouts. And so what happens? You got to wait for them receivers. They got to run 30 yards back down the field and get set again. So great job by taking all that time off the clock right there. And what ends up happening? Clock's running. Next play, Harrison strikes again. Great job by him. That aircraft carrier wingspan comes over, sacks Tagovailoa. Ball goes right up in the air. Still Chambers right there, Johnny on the spot, with the easiest touchdown he'll ever have right there. So Ohio State finishes it off with the extra point and basically ends the game right there at 43-30. Ohio State gets out of Maryland in College Park with the win, and that's all you needed to do to get on to next week. So let's look at some stats here in the second half. Stroud, as I mentioned, very pedestrian game for him. 18-30, only 241 yards. He had the touchdown to Henderson. And Dallin Hayden, tremendous job. I thought he should have started from the get-go anyway. He comes in. He totes it 27 times, guys. You got to remember something. This is a true freshman again. True freshman, all right? True freshman. 27 times. He goes 146 for 3 touchdowns. Tremendous job. Emeka Egbuka, six catches for 82. Marvin Harrison, 5 catches for 68. Ohio State was a little over 50% on third down, 8 of 15 on third down. Not bad. I'll take it. Could be a little bit higher. They're normally one of the best third down converting teams in the country. Total yards on the game, 241 passing, 160 rushing for 401 for Ohio State. Maryland on the other side, again, Maryland could not have played any better, people, okay? Give credit to them. They went down swinging, just as I kind of expected that they would. Again, home game. It's their last home game. They came out swinging. They left it all out there. Excuse me. Tagovailoa was fantastic today. He really was. He was 26 of 36 for 293 and 2 touchdowns. Here's where they struggled at, though, rushing the ball. They had 29 carries for only 99 yards. And Demas, their big receiver, 5 catches for 67 yards. Jared had 3 catches for 65 yards as well. Rushing, though, they only went 31 carries for 84 yards because of the sack yardage late. Then on the pass, they were 293. They had a total of 377 yards on offense. So, again, great job. Found a way to get out of there. My next segment, I'm going to go over to highs and lows. I'm going to check out some comments here right now. And so bear with me as I go down through some of the comments here, guys. And we'll see what we can say. Now, this one here, I'm a little bit shocked. Keyboard Warrior, can we replace Ryan Day? I mean, my man, come on now, okay? You're talking about a head coach that only has one Big Ten loss. What is this, his third year, fourth year? He's only got one loss. Who you want to replace him with? I mean, who are you going to get? I mean, come on now. That's nonsense right there, hearing stuff like that. Okay. Yes, David. Yeah. Again, when you got Maryland, listen, they had Michigan on the ropes earlier in the year. Okay. They probably could have got out of there with a win. All right. Had they not fumbled the opening kickoff. But again, you give credit when credit is due. Tagovailoa played fantastic. They had a good game plan with a lot of the misdirections, a lot of the screens, things like that. So again, what I like is that it gives Ohio State an opportunity to get back in the film room and look at what happened and learn from it. Yes, this is what I talk about all the time, guys. Roger here. Man, every team in the top four struggled today. Guess what? This is the game of college football, people. This is the game. You have 18 to 22 to 23-year-old kids. You never know what you're going to get from week to week. It doesn't matter who you're playing, all right? It does not matter. So there will always be a struggle. You always struggle with your team. You're going to have growing pains here and there on certain weeks. Some weeks you come out and boat race somebody. Some week, like today, you're going to come out and struggle because that other team across from you has got their A game and they're playing great and they have some confidence. So, again, the best part about it is when you struggle, getting out with a win. That's the best part about it. Yeah, I've talked about it already a little bit. We may have found something with Hayden. Listen, I was thrilled with Dallin Hayden last week against Indiana as well. Dallin Hayden is, I think he went for, this is, I believe, might be his third time over 100 yards. I believe he went for over 100 against Toledo. I'd have to check. And then Indiana, he went for 100, and then today he went for 100. So he's playing really well. He is. I love what he's doing. I love what he was doing. Again, we played like a turd today, Brian. Listen, again, you find a way to get out of there with a win, and that's exactly what Ohio State did. Troy, I don't think that our passing game has regressed outside of Harrison. Again, it's just how the defense is playing. If you notice, Maryland, a lot of times they were dropping 7 in coverage, okay? They're only rushing 4. And so, again, that's hard to throw against at times. But when Ohio State had to make the plays, they made the plays. So that's what you have to look at. So just look at the whole picture. Don't look at it at spots. Look at the whole picture. When Ohio State had to make plays throwing the football, that's exactly what they did. So don't get too down on it. It hasn't regressed. And I just think that, again, let's keep things in perspective. Okay, it's a win, a win, a win. It's what you wanted to do. Survive and advance right now. And you're exactly right, Jeremiah. Survival Saturday again. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. Let's go. And you're right. Again, like I said, it doesn't matter. I didn't care if Ohio State won by 1. All I wanted them to do was to get out of College Park with a win and move on to next week, okay? Because believe me when I tell you, when I talk about these young kids, Michigan is in the back of their minds. There's no doubt. There's no doubt Michigan is in the back of their minds, guys. How could you not? It's all over the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, especially after what happened last year. They got the countdown clock. It's constantly put into their heads about beating Michigan. I mean, I don't know if you guys know this, like next week, all the scout offense and scout defense, they'll tape over their helmets and make them look like Michigan helmets. That's how, and that's what that rivalry means to Ohio State. So, again, it is survive and get out of there, and now we can move on. Well, again, that's down the road, Ralph, about Georgia's beatable. Listen, anybody's beatable. There's no team that is head and shoulders above everybody. They're not. They're just not this year. So on any given day, if you don't come with your A game, you can get clipped. Witness it today, right here. Ohio State's ranked number 2 in the country, and they just got taken right down to the wire by Maryland. Okay, so proof is it doesn't matter who you're playing. If you don't come and play and execute and play the top of your level, you can get clipped. So that's down the road. Let's look at next week, though, which will be down as I go down through some of this other stuff. Obviously, we'll talk more about it. So. Listen, give it to Mikey. Travion's vision is horrible. He's missing available lanes, and it makes the line look worse. Again, Travion Henderson's north and south speed is unbelievable. That has been a little bit of a knock on him. His vision, is he missing holes or what? But again, I love what Dallin Hayden has done for this team right now. And again, you just gotta do what you gotta do. Do we get Pork Chop back next week, aka Mayan Williams, or what? So, wow. Again, I'm not aware of that. Correction, they're down 27 with your extra point pending. So there you go. Again, look at the games today, people. Look at the games. The boys up north probably should have lost today. They had no business being in that game. I thought Illinois played not to lose late in that game. The way they ran their offense. Shame on Illinois. That'll be a tough one to handle. And again, Brett Bielema, sympathy to him. He lost his mom earlier in the week. She went in for knee surgery and went into cardiac arrest. What a shame. And they were close. He didn't even know he was going to go to the game today. So shout out to Illinois. Shout out to Brett Bielema. Sympathy to his family, losing his mother like that. What a shame, because it was obviously not expected. You go in for knee replacement surgery, and she passes away. So, again, you never know what you're getting week to week. Good job, people, with the votes or the comments here. This is what makes the channel good too. I'm able to go down. I love pulling out some of the comments here. You guys do a good job. I really appreciate it. And keep it up. As always, remember, like, share, subscribe. Well, I'd rather be challenged by a hot Maryland team to see a 50-point blowout against a banged-up Maryland squad. Listen, again, Ohio State got challenged today. It does nothing but build something down the road, all right? At times, it always is easy for Ohio State because of how talented they are, especially offensively. Today, they got pushed to the brink. They made the plays when they had to. They made the plays down the stretch. And, again, they're out of there with the W. Yeah, Jay Barness, right back to stretch runs with Travion. DV's exposed again, thrown on 4th and 1 with CJ limping, but Dave was conservative, not wanting to show scum too much. Well, I mean, obviously, Jim Tressel was fantastic at always keeping something back for Michigan. So I could definitely hope that there are some things that are back there. The stretch runs with Travion, we've talked about this before in the past. Ohio State is a much better team running north and south than they are east and west. I don't care how much speed Travion Henderson has, but the other team's got some speed too. But when you're running east and west, it eliminates any type of athletic advantage you have going north and south. So, again, just let's be happy that we're out of there and be proud of it. So, okay. All right, so let's go into some of my highs and lows. My lows to start, because like I said, we always like to end on a high. So my first low was penalties. Very, very bad day penalty-wise for Ohio State. A lot of pre-snap penalties. We had the delay of game on Stroud, going for the 2-point conversion. Those are things you just can't do, especially going into next week. And if you want to advance, anywhere down the road and play for a Big Ten championship and possibly a playoff. Number 2 is the East-West run game. Jay Barnes just kind of mentioned that a little bit. And you saw the difference with Dallin Hayden. There was no really any East and West run game with Dallin Hayden. It was more North and South. That's why Ohio State was able to really get churning on the run game. So, again, credit to them for at least getting North and South instead of East and West. One of the other things I'm talking about is the big plays that we gave up today. We did give up some big plays. Jim Knowles always talks about it. Because of the aggressive style of the defense, you will give up some big plays. You just hope you don't get burned on them. Ohio State did give up big plays today, but they were, again, able to come out of there with the win, even though they gave up some of the big plays. The short yardage again. We had some mishaps on short yardage, and again, the 4th and 1 play late in the game when you could have closed it out and just kneeled on it, they end up throwing on 4th and 1. Not sure why they wanted to go with that route, but again, you don't convert. So another one that I hope we see more next week, okay? Ohio State, I'm waiting. Where is the counter runs at? All right, the counter plays. Last week against Indiana, Xavier Johnson, his 71-yard touchdown run was on a counter. We never see any counter plays from Ohio State, and it's a little bit irritating for me. It really is. I want to see more counters from Ohio State. Now, again, hopefully that's something next week that they try to implement more, but the counter run plays, the misdirection stuff, Ohio State just doesn't do enough. It's straight stretch plays. It's straight just play action plays. I want to see more counter plays by this offense, okay? Then you can really start opening up the playbook when you start picking up some chunk yardage on the counter plays, and then you can start using that in the play action game as well. Number 6, again, people, it's crazy. We get always so excited come fall time for college football, and my last low is that the regular season is over next week already. It's unbelievable how fast time flies. It's Thanksgiving already, and again, like I said, you just sit there and think we're just kicking off. It's Labor Day weekend, and the games are starting. Everybody's excited, and here we are already. Ohio State's finishing the regular season next week already. So those are my lows that I have going into today. Now we'll start with the highs. And number 1 on the list is Dallin Hayden. True freshman. What a job he has done the last 2 weeks, filling in for when Mayan Williams got hurt last week. He came in, toted it, fantastic, went over 100 yards. He comes in today. Henderson's not getting it done. He comes in today, and like I said, carries it 27 times for 146 yards. Not 1, not 2, but 3 touchdowns today by him, okay? So, obviously, if you've got Dallin Hayden doing a great job there, you gotta throw some love to the offensive line. They did a great job in the second half. They were not getting any push in that first half. They probably got a little bit of an ass chewing at halftime, and obviously that was all worthy, too, of it. So they came out with their hair on fire a little bit, and they got behind Dallin Hayden, and they worked hard for that young man. Because if it's not for that O-line, Dallin Hayden doesn't go for 146 and 3 touchdowns today. I can promise you that, okay? So they did a great job in that second half. And, again, it's a 60-minute game. Remember that. So just because Ohio State was not feeling it in the first half and playing well, it's a 60-minute game, people. So Ohio State took advantage of that next 30 minutes, and they did a hell of a job, like I said, making those run lanes for Dallin Hayden. So great job there. Number 4, survive and advance. Right, people? We just need to survive, and that's all Ohio State did they survived to get to next week. Another high that I loved is Lathan Ransom today. Okay, again, Lathan Ransom has put together 2 of the best game stretch I can remember right now for a defensive back at Ohio State. I mean, we'd have to go back to probably Antonio Winfield days, Michael Doss, guys like that. Lathan Ransom has been outstanding the last 2 weeks, and he's going to need to keep playing the way he's playing right now if Ohio State wants to keep going where they want to go. Zach Harrison, he did a decent job today, but guess what? When it was on the line, he had the two biggest plays right there for Ohio State. He got the sack on Tagovailoa to basically end the game. Maryland had no timeouts left, and then what's he do? He comes right off the edge again, sacks Hayden. We got the scoop and score. I thought it's considered a pick. They called a fumble, even though it was picked off in midair by Steel Chambers. So that was a great job by Zach Harrison late as well. So, again, those are my highs and lows. And guess what, people? Guess who we got next week? That's right. It is the boys up north coming to Columbus. So let's just take a few minutes to discuss that. Michigan today, again, all they try to do is survive and advance as well, and that's what they did. Illinois let them off the hook. They've got the best field goal kicker in the country in Jake Moody. Probably win the Grozer Award again. And he was able to boot them on the last play of the game, basically, to get them to win and get them out of there. But the big thing right now is Blake Corum. Now, it didn't look good at first. Now, he came out in the second half, and I guess he wanted to be like, hey, people, I'm fine. I'm good here. Don't worry about me. Well, he only carried it one time, and he was out, okay? I know this. When you get clipped like that, there was a little bit of a hyperextension in the back of his knee, which caused him to fumble the football because he wanted to grab for his knee, all right? That is going to be something to watch all week. Now, Donovan Edwards didn't play today, so they held him out. Who knows what was going on there? So the only chance Michigan will have to beat Ohio State next week, and it is a chance, you have to give them a chance, is if Corum and Donovan Edwards are both healthy, okay? I think Ohio State will fare better, one, because they're at home, all right? They're at home. As we just said, Ohio State is a much different team at home than they are on the road, all right? They will be ready to go next week. And I believe that Michigan still has not seen an offense like Ohio State that can put stress on them, all right? And what I mean by that is Ohio State's three wideouts, their running backs, they will be able to stress and really force Michigan out of some things that they've normally done defensively, okay? So what does Michigan want to do? Do they want to try to play zone? Well, go ahead and play zone because I'll put my chances on our three guys and our tight end, Cade Stover, all day long. You'll get picked apart. Now, or you need to send some heat and try to make Stroud feel uncomfortable, but you also then open up yourself, if you're playing man back there, susceptible to big plays. So I think right now I'm obviously going to give the edge to Ohio State, okay, just because it's at home and because I just don't think Michigan will be able to handle Ohio State's firepower offensively. The weather right now is going to be fine. It's going to be just like today. There will be some rain in Columbus overnight on Friday, but it looks like it's going to be in the mid-40s to low 40s. So there's no weather we have to worry about on Saturday. So it'll be a great test. It'll be senior day. There'll be seniors walking out on that field for the last time, and you've got all the marbles at stake. You wouldn't want it any other way. This is why you come to Ohio State. You want to come to Ohio State to, one, win a Big Ten championship, and two, beat your rivals. Three, go to the playoffs. Four, win a national championship, okay? That's what you look for. That's why you sign your name on that letter of intent to come to Ohio State, is to play in games like this, to win a Big Ten championship, and to pop your rival, okay? So it'll be high noon next week. Couldn't love it any other way. And, obviously we'll be back here again for our breakdown. And I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Before I forget that, thanks for coming on as well, as always, and contributing. And I can't wait till next week. I'm on vacation with work, so that's always nice. I get all week to sit here and think about this game on Saturday. So, again, things next week. I think Michigan And again, it's a big question mark with Blake Corum. I don't think he's going to be a full 100%. I really don't. After that, what we just saw. So it will be interesting to see how he's used. Donovan Edwards will be fine, but he's not the same back as Blake Corum. Blake Corum reminds me a lot of J.K. Dobbins from Ohio State. Wears the same number. He's small. He's compact. He's strong. His cut ability is outstanding. So that is definitely going to, really have Michigan behind the sticks a little bit. So just to talk about that a little bit more, J.J. McCarthy, two people. We got to. Ohio State has got to load the box up and basically see if J.J. McCarthy can throw the ball against us. That's what they've got to do. Load the box up. We're not going to let you hand the ball off and get 4 and 5 yards of carry. All right. Ohio State's going to play much better. Not to mention Jim Knowles says he's still holding stuff back until that game. So it'll be interesting to see. And with Jim Knowles' pass scheme that he has, I can't wait to see if J.J. McCarthy can understand that. Because, again, he's a mad scientist when it comes to pass defense. Someone like J.J. McCarthy, who all he's done is dink and dunk all year because they haven't had to rely on him and throw the ball downfield, okay? You saw today how many balls he errantly tossed. It was crazy. He had guys wide open at times and threw them over his head, okay? So that's going to be a big question mark for Michigan next week is, can J.J. McCarthy, if they're down, is there any way he can get them back in the game next week? So that's another thing that we need to look for going to that game next week. I've got some final comments here. Let's take a look here and see what guys have said here. No, I know. I just talked about it. Jay Barnes, I think Donovan Edwards was more of a holdout, kind of like what Ohio State has done with Travion Henderson and Maya Williams at times, just kind of keeping guys out. And, but I do like our offense. I like our guys. I do. Dallin Hayden, tremendous job again. But Corum, I get it. We'll see how he's going to do. And, I get it. There's 30-mile-an-hour winds there today. They weren't sustained, but he still missed guys that were wide open. And it wasn't like they were throwing him down the field 40 yards, okay? Those were 10 to 15-yard passes that he didn't put on him. I was at the Northwestern game, Eric. Those were 35 to 70-mile-an-hour winds up there, okay? I was sitting in the stands watching it. C.J. Stroud put balls right on guys' numbers, and they dropped him in that game. J.J. McCarthy, there were just errant tosses, regardless of the wind, okay? And the wind was at his back, too, all right? And he missed those guys. Obviously, throwing into the wind going to be a little bit harder. Throwing balls from with the wind at your back are a little bit easier, all right? But he just flat out missed them. So that's what I mean. I want to see how J.J. McCarthy can handle things next week. Again, we're going to have good weather conditions. And, again, I can't wait for it. It's the game. Best rivalry in all of sports. And, again, everybody, happy Thanksgiving. Have a great week. And I will see you guys back here next week, hopefully after a nice big dub against our boys up north. And we'll give another breakdown next week. And looking forward to it. So, everybody have a great night and a great rest of your weekend. Thanks for chiming in tonight.